Welcome to the Barrels and Business Podcast. I am your host, Jade Green, and this is the podcast for beach-loving, barrel-chasing business owners. In the next hour or so, I plan to give you as many tangible tips on how you can grow and build your kick-ass team, scale your business, and live the epic life of your dreams. So stay tuned while myself and my guests bring you all of the best.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, good evening, wherever you happen to be. Hello, I am the normal Kyle, and this is the amazing Jade. And we are in a pretty amazing place today. We have to keep it a secret though, because we don't want too many people enjoying this place.
I tagged it on Instagram.
Damn it.
Sorry.
So we are in the lovely Scott's Head. We've decided to take a impromptu sabbatical for 2 days.
Yes.
Can we call it a sabbatical?
We can.
Absolutely.
Well, I'd prefer to call it forced flow trigger.
Ah.
So we know that we need to have downtime and active recovery to expand our brains to be able to tap into flow states, because the more flow you have, the more flow you get. So really, what today and yesterday was all about is increasing our productivity and creativity.
Nice. I like it. And I suppose, so what we've actually done is you jumped on your old surfboard.
I did jump on my old
which you haven't actually used for a while.
Yep.
And it did take a little bit of time to get on board with it, didn't it?
It did. And I at first I was like, I suck, and I might just go and get my other board.
And yesterday definitely was not the time to be using the shortboard.
No, that was not the right equipment.
So here in Scott's Head, the point where we were surfing, it looks like the waves are good for a shortboard, but unless you have a really, really high level of skill, it's not a shortboard kind of wave.
And a good set of quads.
Oh yeah.
For bouncing up and down.
Yes, the boys out there, I'm awestruck at how they were surfing, particularly this morning where it was a little bit smaller. So yesterday it was probably around that 4 foot mark. Today was probably only 2 to 3.
Yeah.
But just, it's one of those waves that I find catches me out. If I take the little board out, I just, why did I do this?
Why did I do this?
And it's, I take the big board out. So let's explore that a little bit. We've gone off on a bit of a tangent. So tell us about what is the older board? What is this one that we'll play with today?
And by older board, it's all of 3 years old. Or maybe, I think it's about 3 years old. It's my 6'6" Donald Takayama Scorpion. And so mini mal, pintail, it's set up with a 7-inch longer center fin and then 2 trailers. So not quite a thruster. Yep. And it was custom made. It's obviously matched to my Pantone for a tax deduction purposes. It is a promotional item.
It is a beautiful looking board.
It's a stunning looking board.
Yep. And so why is it those particular colours as well though?
To go with my original board. So my first custom board, my number one prized possession in the entire world is my 8'6" tradition longboard shaped by Dennis Anderson that my dad had made for me in 1991 when I was 14. And then, don't do the math. And we lived in a condemned scout hall at this stage and paid $25 a week rent because someone had their brains literally blown out in it. So how Dad managed to get together the $1,100 or $1,200 that it was to have a board custom made for me.
Which in the 90s was
that's a lot of money.
For a board.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
Because we struggled to pay rent. So that was whatever he did to get it. But that is the one thing that's my number one prized possession. So yes, the way the rails are sprayed and the pinstripe that goes with it is to match.
And it's funny, it lights you up.
It does.
So I don't think I've actually been out surfing with you on this board.
No.
I don't think I've seen you out on this board. So
no, you haven't.
And it's got, so that the shape of it's got a fairly big front on it.
Yeah.
So it's not too bad on the paddling, except when you've got a bung shoulder.
Oh, the duck dive, on the other hand, is a challenge.
Yes, yes. So it's a little bit bigger and it sort of glides onto the waves and it's 6'8".
6'6".
6'6".
Yeah.
So, but for Jade, that means that it rides like, for a normal person, a 9-footer.
Yeah.
And it was really riding like a longboard there today.
Yeah, 100%. It just glides over the flat sections, and because you can get all the way up on the nose of it, it just keeps on going and going. Like there's literally nothing underneath you. And I see people looking at me kind of like bemused, like how is she standing all the way up there?
The-
Because I just watched a duck dive, the tiny little thing.
Yes,
And a lot of people come past and go, oh, wow, that thing goes really well. They know it's 100% not my skill level. It is all about the equipment.
There's a bit of both. There's always a bit of both in it. And so why have we chosen surfing for the flow trigger though?
Well,
Because we flow on the wave.
we flow on the wave.
Dad joke.
Well, a lot of people use surfing for flow, and they use it to teach people to get into flow as well. But for me personally, what it is that challenge skills balance. It's the connection to the ocean and nature.
Yeah.
It quietens all the other senses. So the fact that the stuff going on with the body and you're reading other situations, it's quietening down the prefrontal cortex and it's stopping a bit of the lizard brain running in the background.
For layman's terms, the monkey mind.
Monkey mind. Yeah. Monkey mind, shut up. You can't... Well, you can. If you sit out there thinking about work, we know 100% the waves do not come anywhere near you.
They separate
They
around us
separate
and
around
go
you.
somewhere else.
And so that's just not even going to be surfing, that's sitting. But when you do drop in and you're reading the waves and that, but you do get this state of, the other day we've been 3 hours? 3 hours today, 2.5 hours. But I think it's a matter of that's giving our brains an opportunity to quieten down what's going on, the RAM, and it's kind of like a defrag while it's out there. Like we're absorbing the energy of the ocean and Mother Nature, and I think that's recharging our bodies and our souls.
I really, really feel like I get recharged by the ocean. I find that, let's go a little woo-woo on it, I suppose. So I find that for
I'll drink beer, you do woo-woo.
the energy in the ocean, it can't be stopped. And when you think about, it's in motion. It's not stopping. You can't stop it. But wow, doesn't it recharge you when you're in there? And I find, and particularly something that I had to teach the kids when they were younger as well, is that it's super, super important not to fight it while you're trying to recharge.
Yep.
And, like whether it's a really rough day, whether it's a calm day, whether there's a sweep going down the beach, if you're trying to recharge, I find that for me, it's super, super important that I don't fight it, because the times that I fight it, I get out going, why did I do that?
Frustrated.
Whereas if I jumped in here and I floated 1 kilometre down the beach, I'd get out feeling amazing, even though I had to walk 1 kilometre back down the beach. So for me, I feel recharged from it. And I think I've spoken about before about the research with kids around with ASD and particularly Surfing the Spectrum that's working a lot with those sorts of kids. What they've found is that because the ocean, it's all nature. It's 100% nature. There's no digital to it. There's no man-made to it. It's all just that. And so the kids find that where it should actually trigger them, it's completely the opposite, and it's calming for them. Yeah. Because it's just nature.
Yeah. And I think that everyone can figure out what theirs is. Some people, it's like mountain biking. We've got team members that getting on the bike and getting in the mountains. Like if that's your feeling, again, it's that getting into nature and
the connection with nature.
The connection. And also it's the unpredictability. So one of the reasons why surfing, mountain biking, trail running, all of those things are flow triggers is because our brain it's still sorting the unpredictable stuff, which means it's using it for that rather than all of the to-do lists and all the other stuff, which is why they say in terms of getting those benefits rather than getting on a treadmill and just running on a treadmill, which might work your body, you're not getting all of the recharge benefits that your brain needs because you're not sorting like, where do I have to put my feet?
Being on a
what's
treadmill
going
drives
on?
me bonkers. It drives
everything
me absolutely
hurts.
batty. And
Everything hurts.
I haven't actually found a way. Even a stationary bike, I find that it drives me absolutely batty. I don't feel like I'm moving. I don't feel like I'm getting a benefit from it. So I can't sit inside. It's a reconnection with nature. And I do know that so one of the parenting, let's say, gurus that I've sort of followed, Maggie Dent, talks about boys in particular really, really need that connection, like teenage boys, that connection back to nature. And without it, they will literally go crazy.
Yeah.
So we're out surfing. Now for me, I usually try and challenge myself a little bit as well, and I Coach Clayton. You know, geez, we're shouting out to everyone today, aren't we?
Give everyone a run.
So Coach Clayton, and thinking about, and I really focus on it more and more and more now. And I did it the other week when we were at D-Bar and I was surfing on your surfboard about right place, right time, right timing.
Yep.
And just be there, and you should be able to just glide onto the wave. And so I really focus on just achieving that, and I try and find that spot. And I'm always looking at where the waves, like that precise spot. And out here, there's 2 rocks that sit out on that point. There's 2 rocks in the water that at about that half tide mark, they're only this far under the water. Yep. That's my spot. I know that's where the wave, that's with the way the rocks and the points all shaped, I know that's exactly where it forms up. And with the longboard in particular, I know that I can turn 2 strokes and
you're off.
I'm sailing.
Yep.
And it's quite interesting that, you know, like there's 2 rocks. I can literally sit there with a foot on the rock, holding my spot, and that's it.
I'd like to note that Kyle didn't tell me about the 2 rocks and where to sit when we were out there today.
So the waves weren't breaking there today, though. So it was a little bit different today. It must have been where the swell was coming in. And there was one of the boys was catching some waves there, but that wasn't the spot for us to be sitting. So
okay, good.
I was either well out past the point or back down a little bit.
You'd mentioned Coach Clayton. What I was hearing in my head from Coach Clayton is patience, because I kept falling for first wave of the set because I got impatient and I got overexcited.
Peaked too early.
I peaked way too early.
But see, someone's got to take the first wave.
Someone's got to cop the first one.
Like, you know, someone's got
But I paddle and I miss it because I'm not on the longer board, and so I was like, okay, patience, and stop rushing to the end of the wave. Like so he used to say, like, I used to race off, but now I'm like, you've seen the last couple of days, I'm cutting back quite a lot because he's like, I can see your brain thinking, like, get to the end of the wave, get like, go faster. And he's like, that's not the outcome. And I think that's a really good lesson for it. It's my lesson in patience and going, okay, don't get overexcited. The ADHD, just calm, and like wait for the right one to pick you up. But more importantly, that not rushing and taking the time and slowing down to speed up, because when I race out onto the flats, then the waves, I might be up on the nose of the board, but then it's disintegrated.
Gone.
Whereas I slow down, per se, cut back, obviously the wave picks me back up, I get the power zone again and I can hit it.
And you can go all the way to the beach.
And I can go all the way to the beach. So
Which
I think
is a 2-edged sword here.
Yeah, the paddle back.
It's a fucking long paddle here.
It is a paddle back. But I think there's so many lessons that if we actually pay attention to those things, like even for you, like, okay, what's my marker?
Yep.
Like, what do I know is consistent, and what's my marker? How do I get myself into position? What do I have my memory?
Yep.
The understanding, okay, we've been coached, what applies to right now.
Yeah. Yep.
So you had one thing, I had another thing.
Yep.
And thinking through that, but the metaphors of, okay, patience. How can I apply this in my work life? How do I apply this in leadership? How do I apply slowing down?
I know I thought it. Did I say it to you while we were out there? The right wave will come at the right time when you're ready.
Yes.
And it's so true, isn't it? Like I know, and I've done it before where I've been in the surf with a really bad mindset, and I know the waves don't come to me. And I was talking about this when we were surfing at Palm Beach, and I was having a really crappy sort of a morning, and I know that the waves that I was catching were like, they were death traps. It was just punishment every wave, and so I was conscious of that and deliberately stayed away from everyone.
Well, I don't know if I've talked about this maybe on the Barrels podcast. With the energy stuff, but what it just actually anchored for me is the importance of how we step into the third space before we go into meetings, before we go into interactions, or we go from work to home. And we've talked about that a lot on the podcast. But Coach Clayton was like, literally, you're taking your work energy out, and like it's like I can see them from the beach. The waves are just separating from you. You've got this force field around you, and then you've got this like intensity, like outcome.
Yep.
And it's just not serving you. And he's like, just take some time on the beach to set your intention. And the only intention that you should be having is go out there and have fun.
Have fun, yes.
And like take a few minutes to ground yourself and clear your energy and give yourself permission to go out there and just have fun.
Yep.
Not be trying to achieve any specific thing, not be trying to solve a specific like style issue or anything. And I think that again is a massive thing that we can take into our normal lives in terms of, okay, where do I need to ground? Where do I need to sort my energy? Where do I need to give my permission to myself to have fun?
Yeah.
And to not be so, I say alpha or masculine.
Masculine energy.
It's that masculine energy, right? That go, I need to achieve this, or it's got to have that, or I've got to multitask, like I'm going to go for a surf and solve this problem at the same time.
And so now you've been studying all the Kotler stuff, and so he talks about seeding the concept, giving the brain the information, then letting it do its job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk through that a little bit more.
So the idea behind that, the MacGyver story is what he talks about. The guy that wrote MacGyver and how he would get a block or he'd like trying to get to this, how are we going to MacGyver this? And he would program himself with the questions of what he wanted to solve or where he was blocked in the story. And he knew that his flow trigger, like 2 spots, driving and in the shower. So being in the shower, again, it's the water on the skin, it's the sensation, so it's taking things.
The sensory thing.
Yeah, the sensory thing. And driving, for me, my poor team yesterday, they know when I'm driving, God help them. Because
3.5 hours in the car.
3.5 hours of voice memos. So it's where I unlock, but I think, again, because it's the uncontrollable nature, I've got to be scanning that something else is chewing up the RAM rather than the to-do list, and then all of a sudden these ideas come flooding back. And so the MacGyver guy used to drive home for a shower, and that was how he got unblocked. That was his trigger. And now after yesterday, I really went, this is one of my problems, that I haven't been getting certain creative content out, or some of the stuff that I've been talking about live on coaching calls or with my clients, but we haven't been translating that into what's going out to the public, because I haven't had the space. When I'm sitting at my desk, I get distracted.
There's something else to do.
There's something else to do.
Task, the to-do
and I used to do an hour drive every day, back in the day. I used to do it all the time, but a few times a week. And lately, because where I live, I ride my bike. It's been a while since I've driven to Brisbane and back, and I felt like that's what the missing is. So now I'm like, oh, this is my excuse to go camping more. Fuck it. Well, I'll just buy a bigger van.
Got the van.
And, I have a good van. I buy a big van so I can drive more. But if I schedule that now and go, actually, if I put that into my calendar of I'm going to drive at least 3 hours or 4 hours, where before it used to be, that's a bit of a mission. It's a waste of time. Yep. Like, I don't have that time to waste. Actually, I don't have that time not to waste, to be honest. The penny drop for me yesterday was literally, I don't have that time not to waste. Because I know, like Kay knows it, the team actually knows that is when I really do.
Here it all comes.
Come to life. I listened to one thing, it took me 3 hours to get through 25 minutes of my latest Stephen Kotler training, because I went into, oh my God, I have to message, you got tagged, by the way, on Slack. Don't look at it now. But I went through and went, I've got these 6 clients that have new starters coming on board next week. And it was about the induction and but it was actually the science of induction learning and why the word is induction, and the embodiment of like the values and how people, we've talked about this before, what you do is who you are, but how they model everyone. So anyway, I was listening to that, and we'll do a podcast on that specific topic.
Absolutely.
So I won't go into it too much, but it just triggered me, and I'm like, okay, 6 clients got 10 minutes worth of training on what they needed to take in inductions to the next level. Because we've done a whole lot on that, but like this was like, and this is the science why, because somebody like still busy, like fucking this is the consequence if you don't do it. Then we got like 8 pieces of content that Charlotte can write to put out, a couple of downloadables for templates for the clients to use, by listening to 25 minutes of a training, my accreditation, and going for a drive.
And so, how long, if you had to sit down and just go, okay, I'm going to do those 3 things.
Oh, shoot me.
I'm going to sit down and just do those things.
I will probably do the dishes, vacuum the floor.
Procrastinate for at least 3 hours.
There'd definitely be a pile of washing to be done.
Folded, ironed.
Yep.
Even if it doesn't have to be ironed, folded, ironed, folded. Yeah.
And that wasn't creased, so do it again. I'd find 5 clients that I could overserve that I really shouldn't be doing calls to at that particular time, because I cannot unblock.
Yep.
And if I sit down at the desk with intent to do it, it doesn't happen for me.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Isn't it? Like, so we started with, I couldn't possibly spare 3 hours to go for a drive and have a night away.
Let alone, one night away, which has now turned into 2. Because it's productive.
To now it's, well, actually, this is actually super important, because I know that I'll go and waste and procrastinate for 3 hours, and then I'll get the shits with myself and I'll work till midnight to catch up. And I probably still won't get it done. And whereas
it won't be as good.
If I'd gone for a drive and parked myself here.
Yep.
And I've already done the work. I've already got that out. I can still sit here and do a bit more. Really, if I schedule my time right, there's no reason why I can't use that 3 hour drive and my time here, and then still get the flow stuff when I go for a surf.
Well, but it's also the flow stuff that unlocks it. So I definitely think that the days that I've not had time to go for a surf has taken till midnight, because time expands and contracts. But the days that, and maybe because, again, ADHD and flow triggers, the timing thing for me specifically, when my day gets shorter because I've invested the time to do it, I kick into gear faster. And this is not a flow trigger you want to necessarily nurture in people or encourage.
This isn't a flow trigger. This is a squeeze.
A squeeze.
You like to
be
squeeze.
Squeeze. Yeah. But that for me definitely takes me up a notch, and the creativity unlocks.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's sort of roll back a little bit, because there's a lot to unpack in that, and anyone that's listening, they're sort of going, holy shit, what is this shit that they're talking about?
Oh yeah.
We have had a few beers today. We are standing at the beach, and we've had an amazing day. So maybe it was all shit. No, it's not. So we'll go right back to the start. So for us today, we've started the day with we went for a surf. Well, you started on a call
at 6 a.m.
So, but you're up and you've done the learning.
Yep.
And so this is actually probably even more important for today. So you're up, you've done some learning, and you've seeded all of that information.
And for me specifically, because I'm a learning junkie, and I am most in flow when I'm in workshops and in those live environments where I'm getting feedback and participating.
Yep.
So whenever I come off of a call like that, I am buzzed.
And we did debrief a little bit.
We debriefed.
While we were sunscreening and all of that sort of stuff. Then we threw you into the surf, into your happy zone, into that flow state.
Yep.
And then what's happened is that we've problem solved all the tech gear.
All of the tech gear.
And we've just dropped out this podcast, which is really, really in depth on flow triggers. So that's why it works.
100% works.
So that's flow, everybody. I'm Kyle. This is the amazing Jade. This is what happens when you start your day the right way, and that you invest the time in triggering your flow so that you can go to it. By all means, let us know what your flow trigger is, whether it's surfing, running, bike riding, sitting on the beach, meditating, whatever it is. Let us know wherever you're listening to this what your flow trigger is, because I'm certainly curious, because I have no concept of what anyone else does.
And it's super interesting to see what other people do, because you can try something new and it can unlock with that new curiosity as well. So you'll be serving the whole tribe by making sure that you share your trigger. Blue.
Excellent. Thanks everyone. Can't wait to see you on the next one.
Bye guys.
Tuning in to the Barrels and Business podcast. If you are ready to build your kick-ass team, you're looking to scale your business, or you just want ways that you can get wet more often, make sure you head on over and connect with us at barrelsandbusiness.com. Actually, while you're at it, why don't you just hit subscribe wherever you are watching and listening to the podcast right now. I'll see you guys on the next episode.